Well, good afternoon. This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant afternoon and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Please accept my apologies. There haven't been many videos because we've just been working like crazy on the container, and you know, in the meantime, the whole world seems to have fallen apart. The Middle East right now is an absolute disaster waiting to happen. And before I go on, there was somebody who commented about all the other innocent civilians that are getting injured around the world, you know, including in Palestine and in Russia. Yes, everyone. It's always the civilians who get harmed in wartime, okay, to suit the wants and needs of a few elites that run this world. Because if you're a soldier at war, I can tell you there is no upside other than you coming back with all your fingers and all your toes and your mind in some kind of reasonable order. Okay, there's no booty, there's no spoils for the winners. No. This is just a tragedy for everybody involved on the ground. So I just want to clear that up. You know, maybe it didn't come out as clearly as I wanted. I was certainly thinking it, but there you go. And that is why I have never been in favor of any kind of violence or war, especially on a large scale, because it really is absolutely devastating, as we can see. And so we are in a situation where this could easily blow up into a wider scenario. Saudi Arabia and Iran has said that they back Palestine, and now I was listening on CBC News. Yes, I do listen to CBC News, and I'll tell you why. I try and tune in like once a day, maybe the 6 o'clock news, because it's a sort of full edition, and that's on the radio, by the way, not the television. And the reason is because there's that old saying, you know, keep your friends close but keep your enemies closer. And as we now know that most of the mainstream media is just a propaganda pump, once you know that and you listen to what they're saying, they tell you what direction, firstly, that they are going, what kind of story or agenda they are pumping forward, and it also reminds you of, well, what are they distracting you from? Okay, because all of a sudden, Russia and Ukraine is a back burner issue, and this is all the news of the day. And also, I might remind you, is that we are in a situation now where really, when it comes down to it, you know, you maybe know 100% for sure what is happening. Maybe a 400 or 500 mile radius of where you are. Outside of that, unless you're actually viewing it with your own eyes, you cannot trust really any kind of media anymore. Everyone seems to have an agenda to push. Everyone seems to be wanting to get, you know, clicks on their videos, so they're overstating things, they're speculating things. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to find out the truth. And of course, you'll remember, not so very long ago, it was about a year and a half ago, I believe, that every newspaper, every mainstream newspaper in the world ran a headline that the country that that newspaper was located in was warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. Whether it be Canada, Australia, Europe, China, Russia, it didn't matter. Everywhere was warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. And of course we know that it's not possible for the whole world to be warming faster than the whole world. And so it just shows you the power and influence of the media today, where they can run that different story in all of those different countries and pretty well be certain that all the other countries are not going to cross-check or talk with each other or this kind of stuff. So yes, we have to be very, very careful about what we believe and don't believe or take away, unless you have somebody there that you know that's personally in that situation, in that location, and can reliably report to you. But anyways, what the mainstream media is pushing now is that Iran is the mastermind behind this, and that Syria and Lebanon are now lobbing shots into northern Israel in support of Palestine and the Gaza Strip. So yes, this really has all of the markings of a real black swan event. American aircraft carrier, it's up there, destroyers are following, and everyone has committed support to Israel in this matter. So I think that when you look around the world and you see the number of wars, displaced people, and we're just looking at an international crisis on every possible level you can think of. It's going to disrupt all of your food supplies, food growing. How much food do you think they're growing in Ukraine right now? How much winter wheat do you think has been planted? I don't think very much. Okay, because the videos that I've seen, those fields are pockmarked with bombs and artillery shells and so on and so forth. And people, of course, are frightened to go out in the fields because of the uncertainty of the situation. So what we're moving to, and what I have always thought is going to be the end game, is that we're going to go into what I call the 1984 scenario. And if you haven't read the book, you should. I think it'll be an excellent read in today's world. This is George Orwell's book. And basically, it's a grinding, a never-ending war around the entire world, where the three major powers, Eurasia, Asia, and Oceania, are basically continually battling against each other. The two weaker ones are never strong enough to do in the one stronger one, and that strong position keeps moving around, and alliances keep shifting and so on and so forth. And but what it means is that the War Measures Act was invoked, and everybody went into austerity, and it just became a never-ending. It got to a point where nobody even remembered what the fighting was all about, or where it was, or what actual conflicts actually happened. It was just announcements, random announcements from around the world that some place had been seized, and it was all over manufacturing, by the way, which I think is kind of interesting too in today's world. But yes, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very tenuous situation, and I think if I were to make any suggestions, is I would be prepared for austerity. And rationing of gas. This will be actually a way to implement digital ID, because you will need to be identified, your movements will be curtailed. This could be, like I say, a very tenuous situation for everybody involved. Other than being prepared, having some stuff laid away a little bit, there really is no good advice in this situation, because the command and control structure is happening so far above our heads. Really, it's like we're watching a movie. What I'm finding on the ground here is it's very difficult to get coordination between groups. Like-minded individuals are coming together here and there. I think there is a general awakening. So many crazy things have happened, that are 180. Okay, just recently, not a couple of years ago, weren't we dealing with Islamophobia? Okay, where everybody, shouldn't pick on these people, and that they were basically a protected group within our society. And now, because they have come out against the agenda at schools that they're teaching children, all of a sudden they're being labelled as influenced by far-right groups down in the US of A. And that's quite a turnaround. That is quite a turnaround. And then also to call parents names and saying, well, we're all now a fringe group of haters. It's unbelievable. And it's happening so close together. I think these people have forgotten that the internet is forever. And, you can't do these turnarounds. Remember the story of the little boy that cried wolf? They're using the same pattern, the same character assassination techniques over and over and over again. And in fact, I did read a story the other day in the Sun newspaper. Of course, now I do read the Sun. Some of you may think it's a bit of a lowbrow paper or whatever, but it is written so that a grade 10 can read and understand what's being said in that newspaper. Okay, so they don't use such highfalutin words, and their agenda, therefore, is not quite so hidden. And but there was a report in there warning. The ombudsman of the CBC was warning not to use the far-right derogatory term so often, because firstly it loses value, and secondly, if it turns out to be wrong, they lose credibility. And what good advice that is. And of course we can take from that, you know, the more they do, please CBC, bring it on, because it's getting really tired. People are waking up to the fact that this is just a way to distract from, you know, having a reasonable conversation about the situation. Anyone who has an IQ above room temperature realizes that this world that we live in is nuanced. Okay, there are lots of shades of grey between black and white. Okay, and lots of area for discussion, and to portray it as basically a black and white issue, you know, far right versus far left, it really doesn't do it justice, and I think it's kind of insulting to anybody, as I say, with an IQ above room temperature. So, yes, pay attention, put some stuff away, carry on prepping, and watch for the signs. What's that old saying? Be brave, stay calm, and wait for the signs. And I think you're going to see really some, like I say, some things that are going to be difficult to watch in the very near future. And also it gives you a real indication of the kind of leadership that we have in the world today, because this isn't just happening in Canada, this is a worldwide scenario. And they all seem to be hell-bent on one thing and one thing alone, and that is everybody fighting each other, whether in a military sense or on the street, with divisions left, right and centre. And yeah, be careful what you vote for. In fact, I have unregistered myself from the voters list. I am no longer going to participate in this farce that we have. We don't have a political system anymore, we have an agenda. Okay, and because the civil service has taken over, as we've seen with so many different things in natural health products, it's virtually impossible to get onto those committee meetings, those steering committees that make the decisions, that fill out the regulations and the rules under the legislation, because you don't hear about them. And it happens so quick, it's over and done with, and there you go. What can you do? So we, unfortunately, in many ways, are spectators watching a movie, but we can talk amongst ourselves, and we can basically treat the leadership with the disrespect that it deserves, because it is horrible, and it is intolerable, and it is outrageous that we, as supposedly civilized people, should be inflicted with this nonsense. And there you go, there's my little rant for the day. And I want to, next video is going to be actually about the banking system, just not real deep into it, but just another idea of how a lot of these things are orchestrated. Okay? And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe below, and this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening, and we'll talk very shortly. See you now. Bye.